Hello, it's me, Jesus H. Christ, and I'm here with another video. And it's not going to be a fun video, it's not going to be a happy video. And this video is most likely going to open me up to another lawsuit. But I think what I have to say is extremely important, and I'm going to say it. The reason I'm making this video right now is, well, there's a few reasons, but I recently came into possession of the witness list for my upcoming court case, for my child custody case. And in less than 2 weeks, I have to face a whole bunch of people in court that I never expected to ever see again, testifying against me. Besides, there's a bunch of people on this list. The one thing in common they all have is they all belong to a specific organization, a very highly controlled religious organization that a lot of people like to call a cult. It's known as the Mormon Church. On that list, though, of course, is my parents, my uncle, old friends of mine that I had in the Mormon Church. And it's got me really messed up and really kind of disturbed. And it really brought up a bunch of stuff, really got me thinking about things, and I decided this is what I need to do. I need to get it out and let everybody know why I am not a part of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the Mormon Church. Finally. Because this has everything to do with my kids. The only reason I am fighting this battle, well, two reasons. I'm trying to maintain my parental rights. I'm trying to keep 50% custody of my kids. And everyone else, my own family is trying to take that away from me. But I don't want my kids to be a part of that organization. I want them to be able to choose when they're 18 to be a part of it if they want. But I don't want them to be forced into it like I was. So, why am I making this video, and who am I making this video directly to? I'm kind of specifically making this video to my dad. Yeah, because I'm going to have to see you in court, and I'm really shocked and surprised you'd be willing to testify against me in court. You of all people, you have no place to do that. And I'm going to let everybody know why. Because nobody knows. Well, save for a stake president. I don't even think my own mother knows this. So this is probably news to her. And my siblings and everybody else. So, let me start from the beginning. Besides being abused physically, emotionally, and mentally by my father, having received the majority of all of my bloody noses that I've had in my entire life, throughout my adult life, have all come from my father. That's not why I'm talking about this. That's not why I'm bringing this up. It's not the abuse that I got from my father or my mother. Right before, when I was 19 years old, there's actually two things that are really important, but one of which I'm not going to touch about too much. There was an instance between me and a Mormon bishop and another minor that was definitely illegal and was definitely wrong. And I will talk about it at another time, but that bishop isn't testifying against me in court to try and strip me of my parental rights. But my father is. So I'm going to talk about this instance. When I was 19 years old, I was getting ready to leave on my mission. For 2 years, I was going to go to Argentina and go schlep Jesus to the people down there. But before I did this, I had to be set apart. I had to be kind of released as a Mormon missionary by my stake president. And a stake president, for those who don't know, is kind of a regional leader who. My father was a bishop growing up. He was the person in charge of the congregation. Like the pastor, the priest. For those who aren't familiar with how the hierarchy of the Mormon Church works. And he rised the ranks and became kind of a regional leader over several different congregations for over a decade. And just before I left on my mission, he was called to lead another congregation, specifically a Spanish-speaking congregation. And I was going to the stake. I had to go to the stake center to be set apart by this leader and my father. And before I went off to a training center in Provo, where I would spend 2 months learning Spanish before I went off to Argentina. And just a few months, or just a few weeks before I was to leave, I was in my dad's office, playing around on his computer, using his internet, when I made a very, very disturbing discovery. I found my dad had a massive amount of child pornography on his computer. And it was clear that it wasn't just an accidental thing or just a little bit or something. It was a lot. And this completely turned my world upside down. I didn't know what to do. I was shocked and just in a dream. I didn't know what was going on, and I was very confused. And at the time, my mom was in Europe with my younger siblings, and so I just had a couple older siblings there. And I knew what I had to do. It wasn't the first time I had ratted somebody out to a leader. Telling a leader that somebody else was sinning. But this was different. This was my own father, who was a leader, and I had to rat him out to another leader, to his leader, his superior, and I didn't know. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do. I mean, it was really. It's really fucked up. But I did. I went to the stake president when I was being set apart. I was moments away from having hands put on my head and being set apart as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ when I told the stake president that I needed to tell him something about my father. And it took about 10, 15 minutes to get it out. I cried. I just cried and cried. And I told him what I'd found. And he put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Thank you, Alder. You did the right thing." He led me into the high council room off of his office and told me to wait there while he talked to my dad. And I fell to my knees and just bawled and cried and prayed. And I just prayed and prayed and prayed. And it felt like maybe 20 minutes had gone by. And I remember the door opening up and a hand on my shoulder, and I'm lifting up off the chair and just seeing the chair soaked in my tears. And the stake president brings me in. And my dad's standing there in his office with this look on his face that I'll never forget. And the stake president assures me that everything's going to be okay, that he's going to take care of everything, that the proper actions will be made, and I didn't need to worry about anything. I didn't need to tell my mom. Everything was going to be all right. He was going to take care of all that for me. And all I needed to worry about was serving the Lord. And you know what? That was like the best news I'd ever heard in my life. I was so relieved. I was like, oh, I thought I was going to lose my dad. I thought, I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, I assumed he would be disfellowshipped, or at the least, maybe excommunicated, that he would maybe go to jail or something. I didn't know. Honestly, I wasn't really thinking about that. I was just thinking about how I was going to break up my family, how I was going to be responsible for my mom and dad getting a divorce, and just, having to tell everybody else that, yeah, I ratted out dad. It's my fault. But I wasn't. I was relieved. I was like a huge, I just felt so just relieved that that wasn't going to happen. Maybe it was going to happen, but it wasn't going to be as bad as I thought. And I was shocked. The first sign of major cognitive dissonance, where everything just rattled, was when my dad got in the circle and set me apart as if nothing had happened. And I just pushed it away. I was like, in my mind, I knew what had happened, but I felt there was an explanation for it. And I thought maybe the stake president was like trying to protect me, my feelings or something, or maybe he knows something I don't know, or I don't. But I trusted in the Lord Jesus, and I just worked. And I kept thinking about that. And I was expecting to get a letter 2 weeks down the road from my dad, saying how he was reassigned or disfellowshipped or something. But no, nothing like that happened. And I went on my mission. And that was the start of me having a really, really rough time, starting to have an issue with the church. And I would like to say that there were other times and more things that made me think sooner than that, but that was really the first time. And unfortunately, that wasn't enough to get out, or to rethink things, or to examine the evidence against the Mormon church or anything like that. I just kept going because I was all the way in. That was my whole world, my whole society, and I knew nothing else. I knew nothing different. And I had expectations of me. I had to serve that mission, and I had to do it right, and I had to do it honorably. And man, that was rough. I got home, I got married, I did what I was supposed to do, and I went through followed the typical Mormon footsteps. It wasn't until like 2007, 2008 when Proposition 8 came along in California. That was they were trying to pass an amendment to the California Constitution to make it legal for marriage to only be between a man and a woman, and basically excluding same-sex couples from getting married. And I had an issue with that. It didn't feel right to me. It didn't feel good and loving to be opposed to same-sex marriage, to be so opposed the way that the Mormon church was, and to be devoting so much time, effort, money to that, campaigning and knocking doors and doing phone calls. And I luckily always found a way out of those obligations and didn't participate in them because it made me sick. I didn't like that. I didn't like that 2 hours out of every Sunday was being devoted to talking about this, how we're going to stop and prevent Proposition 8, how we're going to keep marriage only between man and a woman. That's when it really started to slide down, and I started to get doubts and started to have questions. And but I didn't leave yet. Nope, because I was in. And when you're in with this type of organization, you're in. They call it a cult for a reason, because it is much harder to get out than it is to get in. And if you don't believe me, go to Reddit. Go to the Mormon Reddit page, which has 12,000 members or something. Then go to the ex-Mormon Reddit page, which has like 200,000 members, and just read. Spend 5 minutes on each page. That's it. Just 5 minutes. Spend 5 minutes on the ex-Mormon page, just perusing, just look, reading. Spend 5 minutes on the real Mormon page. And then do this. Ask a question. Ask any historical question about maybe steel in the Book of Mormon or like horses or something like that, and see how quickly you are banned from the official Mormon church and unable to ever post or ask anything ever again. Then go back over to the ex-Mormon Reddit, and you'll see how quickly. It's a cold. But I didn't get out. I found the YouTube videos. I found the CES letter, which explained all the history of the Mormon Church. It uncovered the lid for me, but I still couldn't get out. I decided, everyone was in. My whole family was in. Everybody was in. I decided I was just going to go with the motions. Better to just pretend. And it wasn't until my third child, my daughter, was born. And I had to bless her. I was a priesthood holder. I was an elder. I held the priesthood. And in the Mormon Church, we do a ritual where we bless the child in front of the entire congregation. And it's like a real blessing. Like, we're blessing them with like protection and knowledge and all kinds of things. And it's divine, and it's channeled to you through the Holy Spirit. And I had kind of checked out mentally, but I was still going to church and doing the things and everything. But it came to this point where I had to perform this ceremony. And I had my whole family around, and everybody was there, and I had to do this magic ritual to this innocent little child and start this innocent child into this world of just lies. And I was like, no, I couldn't do it. The sad thing is I ended up doing it. I ended up saying the blessing. I ended up giving the blessing. But it was that moment that I said, I'm not going to lie anymore. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie to anybody. I'm not going to lie to my children. I'm not going to lie to my family. I'm not going to lie to other people. I'm not going to say I believe when I don't believe. I'm not going to say that the Book of Mormon is true, that Jesus and God visited Joseph Smith and he translated the gold plates into a Book of Mormon, and that I'm going to get my own planet someday. If I believe, and I keep wearing my magic underwear, and I keep paying my 10% tithing, and I keep not drinking coffee and tea, and I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. It's like, no. It was clear and obvious that this organization was not a good organization. It didn't do anything good for me. It was taking 10% of my income and giving me back what? Some public speaking lessons, some singing lessons, and a whole lot of responsibility. And that's about it. And some false hope. And instead, it's protecting predators and sick people, like my bishop in high school, or my father. And I did not want this to happen to my children, because children are required to participate in what's called worthiness interviews, where they're asked by an untrained old dude, a bishop, who was like my dad, and asking them questions about their, about their masturbation habits and stuff like that. And it's totally inappropriate. And it gives undue amounts of shame and guilt on children that's totally not necessary. They don't need to feel guilty for things that are just completely natural. I didn't. And I don't want my kids going through that. And I've requested to my ex-wife's Mormon bishop that he don't do that, that he doesn't do that. But he wouldn't stop. And so, in fact, the Mormon church's lawyers got involved. Curtin McConkie. In fact, interesting fact you might know, the Mormon bishops just barely, like 2-3 weeks ago, for the first time, are now getting training for abuse training. Yeah, it takes 10-15 minutes. It's a website that you go to, and you just click on through it. And it instructs bishops to, instead of calling the police when they uncover sexual abuse to call a helpline, right? But the helpline is not to help the victims. The helpline goes directly to the law offices for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Kurt and McConkie. It's to help the church. It's to help them settle. And Google it. Just look it up. Vice did a great article on it. I know Verge did one. Abuse is rampant. I don't want my kids a part of it. I don't want them. If they're 18 years old, they want to go and they want to be a part of it. That's totally cool. But until then, I should be able to say, as a legal guardian of my children, I don't want them participating in that. And the church should say, okay, we will honor that. Instead, I'm fighting to have all my rights stripped so that I don't have a say. And that's totally fucked up. So, Dad, I'll see you in court, I guess. And Mom, I guess I'll do you next, because you are a liar and a thief. And you've got a lot of skeletons in your closet too. Make sure you check out the CES letter at csletter.org. For any Mormons out there, you're wondering what's going on, please check this out, okay? It's just questions. It's not voodoo. It's not scary. It's not anti. It's just questions that are unable to be answered, okay? So just check it out, okay? Please. It'll change your life. I say these things in the name of myself, Jesus, Herbert Christ. Amen.